Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome to the Steam Next Fest demo for Lurks Within Walls by Here Be Monsters. A first-person, turn-based, modern horror dungeon crawler, which at a glance seems to be absolutely dripping with infectious atmosphere. And you know, 'tis the season, so I figured, what the heck? Let's take a quick detour into the darkness. Kick the tires, so to speak, and take this thing for a spin. Let's see what we got. A quiet plague creeps forth. Its power lies not in its initial strike, but in its cunning, adapting, twisting, and spreading throughout unseen corners of the walls, where fear has yet to take root. Oh, and we are right into it. Okay. We appear to be Johnny Half-Face down on the bottom left corner. We are currently at 15 of 20 caution. And we are definitely in an old hospital. All of these are good signs. Painkillers, okay. This could be useful. Ooh, a scalpel, yes. I do love defending myself with the martial equivalent of a modeling knife. Patient. Name unidentified. Admission date redacted. Time 400 hours. First 12 hours. Symptoms: fever, 39 degrees Celsius. Chills, muscle pain. Treatment: antipyretic, 4 saline solution. Observations: anxious, confused, reluctant to cooperate. Samples collected for lab analysis. 12 to 24 hours. Symptoms: aggressiveness, paranoia, persistent fever, 40 degrees Celsius. Treatment: sedative. Antivirals failed to administer. Observations: irrational behavior, elevated heart rate, 110 BPM. Patient transferred to isolation ward. Subcutaneous branching observed. Okay, sure. Yeah, that all sounds great. Especially when we're finding it one bed over from the one we woke up in. Room seems clear. Pushing on. Oh, well, that does seem slightly peculiar. Laboratory analysis. Patient. Name unidentified. Samples received. Blood, tissue, secretions. Preliminary results. Branching redacted. High concentration in blood and tissue, indicating systemic invasion. Proliferation, rapid growth, especially in dark environments. Additional lighting required to contain expansion. Conclusion: critical condition, advanced proliferation, no response to treatments. Abnormal behavior observed. Recommendation: total isolation. Evaluate extreme containment measures. Well, I mean, I hate to say this, guys, but I don't think this one's going to pull through. They appear to have collapsed into a hemoglobe singularity. Contained by light, though. That does seem like a very useful tidbit. And, you know, a classic horror trope, of course. My personal taste in horror movies is probably a couple of decades out of date at this point, but Darkness Falls immediately springs to mind. As does, I suppose, Pitch Black, but that's more sci-fi than horror. The ventilation system is shut down. The air feels stagnant. That's probably fine. Honestly, if they're trying to prevent the spread of an airborne infectious disease, I guess shutting down the ventilation system would make sense. Also, I'm going to say, if light does contain this thing, then the current condition of our electrical grid here is not encouraging. Elevator's too weak to operate. We need to find an alternate path. Well, you know, there's a light at the end of this tunnel, so let's start with that one. Blocked door. Definitely a good sign. Oh, emergency lighting. Lovely. Oh. Improvised note. Night Guard. I'm sorry I never got your name. We have to evacuate the floor immediately. Before that, barricade the main exits. Keep everything locked and secure. Watch out for aggressive patients. Shoot if necessary. Oh, and 4 bullets. Well, I can't wait to put these to good use in my gun? Question mark? So am I the security guard, or am I one of the unidentified patients? Oh, hello, darkness, my old friend. Oh, okay, that's gotta be exit, right? Exit or bathroom. Either way, we could definitely use one. That noise. It's locked. I need to find the exit key. Really? You hear that noise outside the exit, and that is your first reaction, that you need to get out there? Item. Out in the open hallway. Okay. A pistol. Seems to be loaded. Well, well, well. Scalpel and handgun. With 9 bullets. 5 loaded, 4 spare. Plus some painkillers, which, yeah, we'll sit on for now. Can't imagine there's much benefit in overhealing. You look slightly different than last time I looked at you. It's the hair, right? Yeah, that's gotta be it. I'm sure that's fine and nothing to be concerned about and everything's okay. That's how things usually work out in these scenarios, right? Locked in a hospital, something lurking just outside the only exit. An ever-growing anomaly, trapped within. Crowbar, better take this with me. Okay. Maybe we can use that to get past some of these barricades we've been seeing. We'll have to keep an eye out. The door appears to be locked from inside. More banging. From here. At the choke point to this dead-end hallway. Ooh, medkit. Oh, okay, well. Really figured this door would be open by now, but maybe... Oh, I see. Okay, right. We've got a fuse box. Alright, let's reactivate the elevator. Why go out the exit when we can go ever deeper into the depths of darkness? Power panel for the floor. The elevator switch was turned off. Oh. Hi, sir? Well, you must be the night guard, right? You're here to help people, I assume? I'm gonna take that as a no. But, you know, apologies in advance if it turns out that I'm the monster and I'm just filtering everything I see through some sort of alien infection. Obviously fairly simplistic RPG mechanics, but they did a great job with atmosphere here. Oh, off to a great start, I see. Hate that. Okay, well, let's go for a disarm. Oh, okay, that worked out. Yeah, just keep wailing. And down he goes. Alright, so a fairly simplistic combat system. Very RNG heavy, at least based on the numbers we were seeing there. Though to be fair, we did not use the special tactics ability, which seemed like a fairly straightforward trade-off. Sacrifice a turn for a temporary buff. Pulsating wall stains. That's probably fine. You know, I'm starting to think it might be a good thing we can't get out that exit. Right, that was the one that was locked from the other side, so this is where our friend was hiding out. Emergency note. Power has been redirected to keep the sample room illuminated and prevent further spread. After the area is evacuated, the guard will shut off ventilation, disable the elevator, and contain the patients in isolated areas. The situation is critical. Okay. That does give us some valuable context. And apparently an exit key. Though we do seem to now have good reason to not use it. Oh, I wonder if that's like a... Maybe that's a branching path. I'll also note, UI functionality seems to be almost non-existent here. No map function, no option screen. I will say that certainly does ramp up the old anxiety factor. Really adds to the immersive atmosphere, but also at the sacrifice of some practical functionality. I imagine we will have a proper option screen in the full launch, but map functionality is a toss-up. I could definitely see them going either way on that. I feel like something may have ever so suddenly... Oh. Hi. This is fine. The plague spreads. reaching beyond the limits of your flesh. Claws emerge. What power will you claim? You know, I feel like I would normally politely decline, but as I literally have no choice. Right, yeah. Okay. Well, you know, I notice we've got some very subtle new additions around the edges of our screen here. Oh, hi there. Well, you know, where you've already come this far, might as well take it to the edge. Oh, hey. Successful kneecap that time, which, quote-unquote, reduces agility. Well, I'm not entirely clear on what that leg shot actually did for us, but peeling her apart with our new claws certainly seems to have done the trick. So wait, where did she come from? The first guy we encountered very distinctly came from a previously enclosed area. So, ventilation seems to be up and running again. That's good. Exit? Oh, yeah, there it is. Blocked by a flimsy shelf. I feel like we could move that, but you know, given circumstances, I suppose it's for the best we can't. Patient name, unidentified. Admission date, redacted. Time, 400. 24 to 36 hours. Symptoms, extreme aggression. Erratic behavior, black patches and expanding subcutaneous branching. Nails growing into claws. Treatment. Sedation attempt failed. Patient became violently resistant. Observations. Branching redacted, invading the nervous system. Total isolation reinforced. 36 to 48 hours. Symptoms. Abnormal behaviors. Patient unresponsive to stimuli. Repeatedly murmurs, "Well." And I could swear the body levitated off the bed. None of this makes sense. Treatment. Lethal methods considered due to the severity of the situation. Observations. Terminal infection. Urgent evacuation and containment of the floor required. Well, yeah, I feel like this might be a fairly solid sign we should probably not try to, a shotgun. There are only a few shells. Oh, I could make a really dark joke right now, but I really probably shouldn't. Suffice to say, trying to force that exit would definitely be a shellfish maneuver. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step away from the exit. Special tactics. Nice. Right, so special tactics is very, very straightforward. Sacrifice your turn for bonus accuracy and evasion on the next. Hard to say if it's worth it, but it obviously worked out for us there. I will note, though, it did look like it was only a 10% bump. Ooh. Right. Claws evolve. The power expands. Good. That's what I wanted. I can feel it. I can open it. I sense its call. Sure, we could all use a little venting from time to time. Yep. Looking good. Everything here is fine. Well. Alright, you gangly bastard. Let's do this. I'm sick and tired, and I am just about out of patience. Tactics. Shotgun. Oh, wow, nice. Right, but we're now out. So back to claws we go. Oh, wow. Tactics? Yeah, that's a 10% bump. And down he goes. Or she. I was really trying not to look that close. Check the sides real quick. Just in case. Ooh, we're actually looking pretty good over here. Right, because we have the one functional light. That's a nice touch. Well, no, I guess we have lights over here too. So it is just a coincidence. That does seem like a potential mechanic I could see coming up, though. I mean, at this point, it feels like we're doomed. Because it turns out we probably are. Yeah. And thus ends our tale. Fair enough. Fair enough. I suppose once, I suppose given what we read, once we contracted that disease, it really was all downhill from there. About the only out I could potentially see was, apparently we're not done. Sierra in position. Entered the building. Targets neutralized. No sign of survivors. Elevator spotted, proceeding to the 13th floor. Out. Oh, we were just on the 13th floor. Right, okay. So that was just like the prologue of a doomed patient. Touché. That... Yeah, I should have seen that coming. Very well done. Man, that was interesting. I've mentioned it in a few of my other videos, but I used to be a huge B horror movie buff back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, but I kind of fell out of the scene when films like Hostel really started pushing the unrepentant torture porn angle, because that was definitely not something I was into. I mean, I could go for body horror to an extent, like John Carpenter's The Thing. I mean, that was half the reason I backed Phoenix Point back in the day. Or classic Silent Hill, Parasite Eve, early Resident Evil before it went completely off the rails. I really appreciate the atmosphere. I appreciate the creativity in the creature designs. And I feel like that's something this game definitely has in spades. I mean, obvious downside is that you've got fairly simplistic mechanics, at least based on what we glimpsed in this limited prologue. No actual character stats to speak of, a fairly bare-bones inventory system. Combat feels very straightforward and RNG heavy. Though I will say the special tactics did come in handy multiple times. So I mean, I guess I will say it was worth using. Special tactics plus shotgun blast certainly worked out better for us than trying to kneecap enemies on approach with the handgun. While I do generally prefer more granular, nuanced systems, I suppose that is something that does kind of work to this game's advantage, though, because the big downside to any turn-based combat system is that it can quickly become repetitive and bog down a game, ruin the pacing, which in a game like this in particular would definitely hurt it. So I suppose having a fairly basic, fast-moving combat system is to its benefit. Since really, I mean, the alternative would be a real-time system. And if that were the case, I wouldn't even be playing it, Not to mention, of course, if you are playing a real-time first-person horror game and they give you a gun, as they very quickly did in this one, that does very much change the whole feel and dynamic of what you are playing. Turn-based, it still allowed them to maintain that sense of tension from turn to turn. You weren't relying on your own real-life first-person shooter skills. You were beholden to the RNG, which, was fairly harsh based on the numbers they were feeding us, but it feels like it was kind of weighted in our advantage because we really did kind of just take those guys apart pretty handily. Though that might just be for the demo, to give you a false sense of security as you approach the end, only to then turn the tables on you with your doomed prologue protagonist. Which again, I also do appreciate, that is a classic horror movie trope. Starting your story with a character who basically just exists to introduce the scenario and lay down context and exposition before they bite it at the end of the introductory prologue and make way for the real main character. Something pretty famously done with actors like Drew Barrymore in Scream, Ving Rhames in the Day of the Dead remake, Samuel Jackson in Deep Blue Sea. Though, I mean, that was more like a third into the film. That wasn't really a prologue thing. They definitely did set it up as a big fake-out, though, to make you feel like he was going to be a prominent character before his abrupt exit. But yeah, in this particular case, I guess our prologue really was just kind of the glorified setup for someone else's story. I assume the soldier we caught a glimpse of towards the end. Our character's fate certainly seemed to be implied as well, with that last fleeting glimpse inside the elevator, which, poetically became the first encounter for the subsequent introduced protagonist. I do wonder, though, in retrospect, I interacted with the Blood Singularity, which gave us the claws and the infection. I'm curious if I had simply not interacted with that, if they would have actually taken that into account, and our character could have theoretically survived, or at least staved off the infection long enough to reach some source of, not necessarily a cure. I mean, a miracle cure might be an offing somewhere deeper into the game, but they did very specifically spell out that light could at least stall the infection. That's how they were containing the the hemoglobe in the first place. It was us fussing with a fuse box that caused that failsafe to fail. Good work, us. But again, it does make me wonder, in theory, just how much reactivity this game might end up ultimately having. Though obviously that all spans far beyond the boundaries of a Steam Next Fest demo. That said, fairly short, fairly sweet, and very appropriate for the season. I liked it. Wouldn't have minded a bit more complexity in the mechanics, but again, that might have gotten in the way of the pacing or atmosphere. So, yeah, it's all a matter of balance. And ultimately, I feel like what they did here shows a lot of promise. Not necessarily for a CRPG or an in-depth tactical experience, but definitely for a very intriguing story. Or just horror experience in general. But, you know, that's just my opinion, and what do I know? I am much more curious to hear your own. As of the moment I am recording this, the demo is still available. It was not disabled at the end of Next Fest, so I'll be sure to include some links to it in the comments down below. I encourage you to go check it out. And of course, feel free to share your opinions about the video, the demo, or whether you might even like to see me return to this particular infectious anthology upon its inevitable release. Do we see this particular torrid tale to its bittersweet end? Or do we cut to black with the implied death of our prologue protagonist? Either way, this is RetconRaider, and this was the demo for Lurks Within Walls by Here Be Monsters. And hey, even if it didn't catch your fancy, I'm sure I'll catch you next time. See you then.